Hi everyone, this is the Recreate Reality podcast with Michael and Teresa. Today, we are talking the Traitors US Season 3, Episode 4. For anyone who hasn't watched the show, there are massive spoilers ahead. In today's episode, whispers in the library, will the traitors get discovered? Gameplay, is it better to be opinionated or to have a good opinion? And finally, the epic matchup we didn't expect. The Godfather versus the Dragon, Rob v. Bob. If you missed the episodes, you can catch all the actions on your local streaming services. The Traitors US Season 3, Episode 4 breakdown coming up.
Yeah, we're back.
Hi everyone, hello. Hi, what an epic episode that was.
That was the best episode of the Traitors US and reality TV that I've seen in a long time. I know that's hyperbole and OTT, but I really enjoyed that, man. I was screaming and running around the house.
Yeah, he was. I could not get him to come
myself
down. Yeah.
It was such good television. It was cinema. It was great. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Wow. We're tempted to just jump to the ending, but let's start from the start, I guess.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
If you haven't seen it, you have to watch this episode of The Traitors.
It's a really, really great episode. I think it wasn't something that we were expecting, so I'm not going to go too much into it, but it was definitely a very, very exciting debate. It was exhilarating, there was a lot of drama, and I'm just amazingly amazed at how, exciting that was.
Yeah, it was great. It's my favorite film scenes are often just two people in a room debating and talking, arguing for their existence, whether it be Inglourious Bastards, the beginning of Inglourious Bastards, where Hans Lander's trying to discover the farmer and the people under the floor, and it's just two people, a battle of wills and wits, who will come out on top. Just two people talking, and that's what this amounted to. Just two treacherous people trying to undo the other one. They're both guilty, but who is more guilty? Who comes out innocent? It was fantastic, and to be honest, the previous 3 episodes, they've been entertaining, but we haven't had much drama or effectual action. Nothing's happened.
Yeah, I think so. And I think maybe the one thing I kind of always found with the US Traitors is there's drama, but it's kind of maybe it sometimes can feel a little bit contrived, especially when a lot of the contestants are there to create drama, but maybe they're not necessarily there to actually solve anything.
That's housewife drama. I think I agree. I think they're there. When they get on the show, half the cast automatically goes default into entertain mode, right?
Yeah, who has the best outfit or the best lines, because they do have great lines and
great outfits.
Yeah, great outfits. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And they look great. And a great thing. But in terms of actually solving the game, playing the puzzle, finding the mystery of who the traitors are, I think half of the cast couldn't care less. I think they're there for their appearance fee.
Well, I don't even know if they've maybe watched the show.
Yeah, and it wasn't until Tony and Boston got at it, but now Boston is in full swing, that we're finally seeing people actually play the game and being motivated to play the game.
Okay, so let's do a quick summary. So from the previous episode, so Tony had just gotten voted out, and he got voted out because of Boston Rob.
Oh, this hurts my heart.
And Tony's kind of ending sentence was you're a sellout to Boston Rob.
Yeah, you're a sellout, bro.
Yeah.
This hurt my heart as a Survivor OG fan of both of these guys. Both these guys are on the Mount Rushmore of Survivor. If Tony Vlachos is the greatest male Survivor player ever, with Sandra as the greatest female, then Boston Rob is 1A. He's the next best player ever. And they've been friends for 20 years. Maybe not best friends, but they've known each other for 20 years. So to see them go at each other like that sucked. And I'm sure it hurt Rob's heart, but in his mind, I think he felt a greater loyalty to Bob, and he had to protect Bob, and in order to do that, he had to get rid of Tony. But the way Tony saw it was hey, we're Survivor OGs. We should have each other's back. Yeah. Doesn't matter who's a traitor, who isn't a traitor. we go to the end together, bro,
Yeah.
and let's survivors versus the world. You know,
Yeah.
you, me, Jeremy, Carolyn.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's kill these guys. So I see both of their perspectives, but definitely emotional.
Oh yeah,
for Tony.
definitely. I
He
think
was
so.
hurt. He was
He
upset.
was really hurt. I think I was a little bit surprised, and also I think because this is a new game for both of them. So
Yeah.
while both of them, like, you know, are probably very good at Survivor,
Yeah.
I kind of had my doubts about, like, well, this is Traitors, it's not Survivor.
It's not Survivor, yeah.
Yeah, so you can't play the same way that you have in Survivor and expect it to
You're
go
right.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're seeing them fall into those habits a little bit, like some survivorish habits, right? Like Rob running around, Tony running around looking for alliances. Hey man, how are you gonna vote? Are you voting with me? We're gonna vote together.
It's like, are
And
you
it's
like even concerned
are
about
you-
finding out who a traitor is?
There's a murderer in the building, and all you're doing is building alliances and trying to build numbers. The priority, I thought, was finding the killer, but like Sandra last year, she's more concerned with stacking numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know if that strat works, but against these housewives and other reality stars, it seems to be doing okay. But the last thing we left on in the last episode was the bookcase scene.
Yes. Yeah, so the Traitors, they got a note. They have to murder in plain sight, put 3 people into coffins, but they do that through the secret bookcase where you go in, you know, you write a note on, put it into like a little coffin, and when they were coming
So
out,
cool.
and it seems like they were making quite a bit of noise.
Yeah,
Like, I think
yeah,
Bob
they
the
were.
drag queen just simply could not shush himself. And also, just when I think Danielle and Carolyn was walking out, it seemed like Gabby had discovered them.
Yeah. At first, I thought this is just editing. She's nowhere near it. They've just cut this to make it look like she's, you know, on the scene, but she's nowhere. But she really did see Danielle.
Yeah.
And I was like, no surprise, because they are klutzy as heck, these guys. They are just... First, Bob is just screaming in the room, and then Carolyn walks in going, what are you guys doing? Are we doing conspiracy? Like, it was so funny.
And then Bob also, he wanted to put Caroline's name
Oh, man.
in, you know, as
Hell
you know,
no.
like in the coffin. And I was like, well, I don't think you should do that to a traitor.
And the way you said it was, you know, she hasn't got a choice.
Yeah.
I feel like Bob is...
That's a red flag.
yeah, it's a red flag.
Yeah,
Relationship,
for me, that's a red flag.
a red flag. This is going to be a toxic relationship. He's not going to treat you good.
Yeah, I think so.
if
And
if a
also-
partner ever says you haven't got a choice...
Right. Well, did you think, like, okay, for me, because I was like, why are they all in the bookcase? Like, it would have probably been
Oh.
better if they were, like, maybe at the bar or somewhere else, just pretending to
Yeah.
talk. One of them goes into the bookcase, write it down.
100%.
While 2 people keep watch, you know, just to make sure that no one's coming in
That's-
at the same time.
yeah.
I thought that was maybe the better way
sure.
to
That's
do
the
it.
professional
But I
way to
guess,
do it.
You know, like when you haven't got like that much time and you're like, oh my god, where is everyone?
No,
I guess
that's the
under time
professional
constraint-
way
yeah.
to do it. The way they did it was the bumbling murder way to do it. I'm amazed they didn't get caught. But
Yeah, I'm
thankfully,
amazed, yeah.
they were caught by probably the self-described doe-eyed Bambi of the house.
Yeah, whose
Who
only
is
objective
just
is
like-
to look cute.
Oh, and yeah, they're just like, wow. They came out of a bookshelf whispering. Oh, okay. And even the next morning, you know, though her suspicions are correct, they get
Yeah.
shot down immediately. But
Yeah.
we'll get to that. We'll
We'll
get
get
to
to
that.
that, yeah.
So, in the coffins, we got Ciara.
We have Sierra, Jeremy, and Nikki. And I think prior to that, Dylan had gone into the bookcase room as well.
Oh,
You know, and he's like, oh my
yeah,
god,
true
something is wrong. So he's actually very astute, this boy.
He's got the spidey senses.
Yeah.
He's got the spidey senses, Dylan. He's a sharp lad. He is very good.
Yeah, because I think like sometimes he's like the only detective in the house.
Yeah, yeah. He's the only
Yeah.
one really playing.
Anyway, so we find out that Sierra, Jeremy, and Nikki go into the coffin.
And they do each of them a pitch, okay? Which is very interesting.
Yeah,
'Cause
3 very different pitches.
Ciara's like, I'm a effing faithful and I'm coming for you, you feel. She just swears. She just swears at them like, you know, I'm coming to get you after this, you know.
Yeah, and Nikki was like, "Oh, I'm the best faithful. Everyone can tell I'm faithful. Yeah, like, you know, please let me
And
leave." And Jeremy
Jeremy
had
was
a
like-
like,
Jeremy
you know,
had the best
he
pitch.
had a great one.
Which was, I will work with you if you're faithful or traitor. Like, Jeremy's the only one that realized the fate of your death is in the hands of
the
the traitors,
traitors.
not the faithful.
Yeah.
So pitching that you're a good faithful isn't going to endear you to the people that are going to murder you. That's like telling, the jury, I'm a really good murderer. Please let me, please convict me. You're not appealing to the right people. What you want to appeal is what Jeremy did. He's saying, look, I'm the faithful, but if the traitors keep me alive, I will work with you to the end. But I think this was way too meta. I think this was way too smart. I do. I really think this was... the traitors are like, whoa, this guy is like talking through the fourth wall here. He's playing 4D chess. I can't imagine myself working. I just want to play 2D checkers. And what Jeremy suggested, collaborating, faithful and traitors, I don't think the game is evolved to a sophisticated enough point yet in season 3 for the players to do that. We've seen a little bit of that in the UK Survivor, but I don't think these players are there yet, where they're comfortable working traitor and faithful side by side. One day we will see it. I think that is the next level of gameplay. One day that we will see where a traitor walks up to a faithful and says, hey, I'm a traitor. Let's work together. When it comes to recruiting, I'll bring you in, you blow the suspicion off them, and then we kill everyone here and we take the money.
And also I think he kind of like highlights himself to be like the smart one, because it is a really smart answer. Because I was thinking, how would I do my pitch in a coffin? It probably would be like something like a cross between Ciara and Nikki. But Jeremy, I was like honestly, my mind was blown. I was like, that's a really good pitch. I mean, if I was a traitor, I would definitely concern that. But on the other hand, I'm like, wait, hold on, this guy's smart. I need to get rid of him now.
And he is, because that's what we know about him from his Survivor career. Obviously, he's one Survivor at Winners at War. He was sent home by Tony, but he has always been a heck of a smart dude.
I would have really loved to see him like carry on, just to see because he had his suspicions on Danielle, and I felt like that was probably like one of the prime reasons why she wanted him to go.
I think so.
Plus, he's also like super smart.
Yeah, I think so. I think Rob and Carolyn, well, we know Carolyn definitely wants to keep Jeremy. She gets very upset about it, very emotional. She's close to Jeremy. And Boston, I think Boston probably saw Jeremy somewhat as a threat also. It's like, this guy, like, he's my ally, and if we were both faithfuls, we'd work together. If we're both traitors, we'd work together. But if there's one guy that can spot me in this house, it's probably Jeremy. And I think Boston knows that, which is why he probably okayed this. Because I just can't think of another reason why they got rid of Jeremy, man. But anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I was a traitor, I'll get rid of the smart guys too.
Yeah. That.
And I feel like, I felt like that was a good kill.
Yeah, I'm biased. No. I think Jeremy would have been a really good person to recruit as a traitor later on in the show. But yeah, good kill. He's smart. Kill smart people, keep dumb people. That's the way you play.
Yeah, I mean, okay. To counteract that point, yes, I could have if I was them, could have recruited him. But will he actually maybe outwit us?
Oh yeah,
and actually be a better traitor than
Than us, yeah.
Yeah, than us, yeah.
And that's what he suggested. That's what they would have been feeling when he said, "Let's work together." Like I said, it's too smart. It's too meta. Instead, I'm going to go with Ciara, who says, "I want to find you and effing hunt you down," quote unquote. Which I'm like, okay, yep, keep her around.
Yeah.
So what else? Oh, yeah, Nikki says, "Let's grow the pot. I want to work with you." Weird. Anyway, so then they go off, and Tom refuses to leave.
I think quite a few people were they seem a bit shocked that they had to leave them in the coffins.
Yeah. Well, they didn't stay the night. They made it seem like they were actually dead, which the show often does, but obviously they just go to the hotel later and do what they do. But later the traitors come back and nail the nail in the coffin, so to speak. And Bob says, "We are eating loudly." And it's like, no, we are talking loudly, Bob. We are talking loudly. They can probably hear us. And Rob says, "It's a 3-for-1 because we kill one and the other two immediately draw suspicion on them." Yeah.
And I think that's how kind of like Danielle also thought like, the round table was going to go too. That it was meant to be like Ciara and Nikki. So anyway, moving on. It's now breakfast. Breakfast table is always a very interesting thing that happens. Mainly more so because we always have very fabulous outfits that come on.
Oh, let's talk about the outfits first. Okay. Outfits. Who won the outfits for you? Day 4 morning.
I thought the one wearing the pink. Sorry, I get the names mixed up. Chriselle. I was gonna say Carolyn, but I was like, yes, I knew it started with a C. Chriselle. So I've actually had a little bit of a trouble with the names this year because there have been a lot of very similar ones. Like there's 2 Bobs. There's a Rob. There is Dolores and Dorinda.
Bob. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have Chriselle. Bob is always good dressed.
Yeah, Bob
Carolyn
is great, yeah.
in the white wedding dress. Brittany. Sam is wearing Brittany's hairnet, but not that Brittany.
That's not a hairnet, that's a hairband.
Hairband, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Whatever it is.
It's okay.
But they troll him for... They say, which Brittany? Which I thought was funny.
Yeah. That's funny, yeah. Okay, so now we know that Gabby raised her suspicions about hearing Danielle last night in the bookshelf. But that was kind of like shot down, I think, by Dolores and Robin.
Yeah. And that's what you talked about in the intro, strong opinions or shoot down by the right ones. Shoot down the right ones. It's better to be loud than to be right in this house. Because Gabby's actually right, but in her youth, inexperience, and less confidence than these strong women, she just gets shot down straight away.
She does.
Sucks.
Which I think is a little bit of a shame because that could have been a way...
to use that information.
For sure. Like maybe like a trap, or how do you think she could have used that information?
I think it could have been used really powerfully as a trap. Like I would have said if I were Gabby, I heard 3 people, maybe 4, in the bookcase last night talking. Does anyone want to admit they were in the bookcase room last night? And then you wait to see who they are. But it's always better when you're trying to entrap someone to either reveal that you have more information than them or less information than them. So and let them reveal themselves out of fear. Instead, what's her name? Robin just comes out and says, hey guys, someone was in the bookshelf last night talking, whispering. We know someone met up, so hey, who was it, guys? Who was it?
Because we think that's a traitor.
Yeah, we think and that just allows the traitors to actually say, well, everyone was in the bookshelf last night.
I think everyone's guard is already up.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, how do we try and like reframe this?
Exactly. The way would have been, as I said, we heard some people talking in the bookshelf. Who was there? Then you keep an eye on those 4. They are scared. They're going to scramble. You see if they make excuses. But they literally had all 4 traitors there to be trapped, which would have been unprecedented had they played this right. Can you imagine if they suddenly had all 4 traitors trapped in one spot at one time, no getting out of it? They could have gotten them all out in a row had they played that right.
Yeah, I know.
But
a little bit wasted.
But that's fantasy. Absolute fantasy. Would have ended the film in the first
Well,
act.
maybe I think like this. I think something like that happened on like other seasons of Traitors, but in different countries.
Yes.
So maybe it's just with like when it's reality stars. Like we said, like they're not going to be like deductive.
No.
It's not elementary.
No. You can tell that when the camera's not on them, they are just probably like, oh, when am I going to get my close-up? This is such BS. It took me hours to get this costume together. Oh, camera's on me. Oh, you bitch. Oh, I can't believe you think that I'm a traitor. You think I'm a traitor? I'm coming for you, girl. They're drama queens, and they're so good at it. They're so entertaining.
Yeah.
They're larger than life, but when it comes to solving this show, they get each of these cast members is paid $100,000 to appear on this, which is almost half of the winning fee for winning the actual show.
Yeah.
So, it's better to be entertaining than to win the show in many respects if you want a career as a reality star.
Yeah, I think so, because like to be honest, it doesn't really matter if you win, if you say like win the money. I mean, it is important, but really it's about who gets the most attention, who gets more famous. How do you piggyback, your appearance on the Traitors onto like other reality shows, like, Yeah, and also for them, because they are paid, it's actually more worth it if they actually get evicted or banished sooner rather than stay on for the whole, because then you get paid like $100,000 for like 4 days work versus like 20 days work.
Collect your fee.
Yeah.
Get out, go on to the next job. Yeah, it's a kind of weird gig where you want to keep it going and going and going. So if you're used to bad behavior, this industry encourages that behavior
it does.
to go on, right?
Yeah, because I think
it's a
sometimes you
self-fulfilling
almost
prophecy.
have to be like extra melodramatic,
Yeah.
turn like something little into something like high drama, provoke outrage, because outrage is proven to be like the most viral form of content there is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
so like to be honest, like you are encouraged to be, to be bad.
Any other outfits that you liked? So Bob came in all
Oh yeah, he was great. Yeah, yeah.
that violent pink, whatever you call it.
Fuchsia.
Fuchsia. Oh, there's a name. I knew there was a word for it.
Fuchsia.
Tom comes looking like Justin Timberlake.
Ah, yeah, Tom. How do we feel about Tom? Because he always looks very intense.
He's a strange one. So after this breakfast table, he says he thinks Ciara got recruited, and he's blinking but not blinking. He's licking his lips. He looks thirsty and rehydrated at the same time. He looks like he's on drugs. He looks like he's on drugs.
He looks.
I'm sorry to say.
Maybe he's had too much caffeine and just like
Tom.
like just really needs a drink of
He
water.
is so intense. He's hilarious. I don't know anything about him. I know that he is a waiter or something on Vanderpump Rules. I'm
Yeah,
not
so
sure what
maybe
that
you
is,
guys have
but
like seen him. Maybe if you can like shed some light, is he always like this?
only in LA are waiters like Tom Sandoval and nurses like Ciara Miller. They look like pop stars and actors, and they work normal jobs.
Yeah, I think I was really surprised when Ciara said she was a nurse, because I was like, oh, I thought, I didn't
thought
really realize
she was
that.
a pop star or
Yeah,
something. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like
yeah.
she dresses fantastic. So
Yeah, I thought she was like just a socialite.
nurses there are different.
Okay.
So they find out Jeremy's dead. Carolyn's very upset. And once again, Tom on drugs. Wes brings up Nikki being a showman, and so therefore being a showman should be a good traitor. I don't like this logic at all. First of all, they're all show people.
They are all show people.
They're all extra. And as we've been alluding to and talking and diverging and sort of digressing, they're all extra. They're all over the top. They're all paid to be over the top. That's part of this reality show with reality stars.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think Nikki has been one of the more subdued ones. I mean, I think they're definitely a lot more louder characters, but I guess it's also because like both of them were in the coffin, so it maybe shines a spotlight on them.
Yeah.
But in which case, I don't know if the fact that, because he said that she's in fake wrestling, I don't know. I don't know if that's maybe that much of a valid point.
No.
Like if she had actually acted perhaps guilty or something on something else, but you can't hate a girl for like her profession.
First of all, the logic that one of the traitors is in the coffins is flawed, because that's just assuming that they put one in there to disguise guilt. That's an assumption. The second assumption is that she is more extra than anyone else. The whole room is full. Household is full of them. They're all extra. So, and as you said, she's more subdued, demure, and quiet than the rest of them. I haven't even noticed her in this edit.
Yeah,
So
she hasn't actually come
extra,
across.
Dolores, Robin, Gabby, Danny, all the cast are just over the top. Well,
we get onto the mission, don't we?
Yeah, and also before we get to that though, Gabby says she doesn't care if Nikki's a traitor. She's great. I love her. I want to work with her. I want to hang out with her.
Yeah, because Nikki, Gabby, and Chriselle, they're part of this alliance called the Bambies.
Yeah.
Because
but this goes to show what we've been talking about a lot this ep, is that the gameplay isn't a priority necessarily for these players. And she admits as much in this soundbite where she's like, traitor or not, I like hanging out with her. I want to hang out with her for a few more days, weeks, so meh. And she goes, and that's okay. And it's okay. It's okay, Gabby, you do you. I think that's so funny though. Like the producers are probably like, no, you have to kill each other. It's like there's a game here. What?
No, not necessarily. The producers are probably like, no, yeah, you do that. You say all those things because these are all memes that we can use on TikTok.
Okay. Challenge.
So the mission. Okay.
Mission.
So this is where I guess you have these statues, heads, bodies. Everyone
like
has to... Yeah, Stonehenge, yeah. You have to like carry them up the hill.
Or the Easter Islands, sorry. Yeah, go on.
You have to carry them up the hill. And there's 10 statues that can be erected, and 10 of them will actually get shields.
Yeah, so the first heads to be combined with bodies with the names on them are safe.
Yeah.
So every contestant is represented by a head. The first 10 heads to find their bodies are safe. There are 16 all up.
So I think the first few heads to go on were, I think there was like Tom, Wes,
Bob,
quite a few.
Rob.
Yeah, Bob Harper.
So basically,
the
once
men.
again,
I think 4 men.
we see a challenge that advantages strong men. Like the boat challenge, where the physical requirements of the challenge favor guys. You know what I mean? And
how do you feel about that as a strong man?
I don't like this. No. I like strong. No, I think I like the idea of having self-interest go against group interest and having the players decide that and debate that, but giving them that opportunity to do that. So you need time and space in order to do that. When you put a time pressure on them and say, okay, first 10 heads up, the guys are just going to grab the heaviest thing they can find and run. You know what I mean? You haven't given that opportunity for debate. To his credit, Bob says, hey guys, let's talk about this, but he gets shouted down and immediately guys start working it up the hill. But
well, did you feel, because I kind of thought that he seemed a little bit controlling,
yeah,
or overbearing.
There's a few layers to this, yeah. I think, okay, he wants to appear like a good guy because he wants to appear that he's got everyone's consideration at his own best interest. You know, that he wants to help the women get shields and so on.
And also that it's not fair that, all the credit always gives to the guys.
Yeah. And that makes him appear more faithful. But on the other hand, he is a traitor trying to set them up so that the targets that he doesn't want don't have shields.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, he himself said, like, he doesn't actually really care who gets a shield because as long as, like, it doesn't matter.
But it behooves the character that he's playing to act upset about it because he's always been upset about the guys just getting the best opportunities in this show. In terms of whether I like it or not, I think the challenge is interesting, but we need to give challenges that really do have the players discuss and strategize. Okay, who is safe tonight? Who do you think they're going to go for? Who is going to launch an attack and target traitors with an onslaught at the round table and needs a shield? Do you know what I mean? Who and have them really reason, rational, and debate and discuss this. Who's useless in this group? Do you know what I mean? Who do we think is a traitor? Let's expose them by not giving them shields. And if they stay alive, that gives us more evidence. Do you know what I mean? I think the challenge could be fleshed out a little bit more to help that line of thinking is all I'm saying. So self-interest versus group interest, I really do like the concept of it.
Okay. So I feel like this kind of challenge, it probably might be better when it's shot in a, like, with, like, say UK, contestants where they actually are focused. And we have been watching the UK one as well. There actually has been, like, a challenge where people have actually, kind of like strategized about this prior to a challenge. Yes. Okay, but this didn't happen in the US one. And I also do feel like even if you did give them the time, when you have a bunch of, like, reality stars, it probably is going to veer more towards self-interest than to group challenge.
True.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and also I think, like, with them, it's more about drama. I guess I don't mind this one because it actually just brought more drama. Yeah. And this group it's meant for drama.
They are meant for drama.
Yeah.
And so I'm just scrolling through the slides very quickly, and so we see Tom bolt up. And Bob Harper has a bit of a tough time.
He had a tough time. So I didn't realize he was actually from The Biggest Loser because he actually looked very different.
I grew up watching him and really enjoying his shows. He hosted the Australian version of The Biggest Loser a few times, if I recall, and him being a real inspiration. Sadly, he had a heart attack recently, a few years ago, and so that's affected his health and well-being. And he's suffered a lot from it, and he feels like he's a shadow of himself physically. But for me, Bob, what you're doing, amazing. keep on going. But I felt scared for him at some point.
Yeah.
He was clutching his heart.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I felt like, man, let the guy have a seat and a lemonade.
Yeah, I feel like maybe someone should have said, oh, you need to actually sit down rather than like push through, because you actually really don't know what can happen. I mean, it would be a disaster if, something like, if he actually did collapse on set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other memorable moments, Gabby saying, these guys just grabbing these heads while us, the mothers, the nurturers,
The mother of their children.
mothers of their children are just left by the wayside. Us women and children.
I gotta
she's adorable.
I gotta remember that and like just use it against you one
I
day.
know. I mean, she should have said that during the challenge and said, look, we're the mothers of your children. Save us. The guys would have just gone, oh, you're right, She should have said that during the challenge, but she's hilarious.
Yeah, Gabby's got some great lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, she reminds me of I think Alicia Silverstone in Clueless, I think.
Yeah. Poor Ciara, though, doesn't get any love.
Oh, yeah, I thought that was a bit abrupt for Bob. So what happened is Bob actually said to Ciara, everyone thinks you're a traitor, so you don't need to get a shield because you're not going to get murdered because you're going to get banished.
What? That doesn't make it... It's so brutal what he says. First of all, I think it's mean, bullying, and the fact is Bob is a large man, intimidating man, and he's like 6'5", and he's looming over this little girl, pointing in her face and saying, yes, bitch, you're going home. And she's just like, huh, what?
Yeah, imagine if Shaquille O'Neal did that to you.
Yeah, of all the people that need a shield, she actually needs it because she's being targeted. Yeah. She was in the coffin. She was one of the final 3 that they were hoping to actually kill. So clearly, I think Bob, he wants to kill Ciara. Or at least she and Nikki are in his sights to be killed.
Yeah. I think the plan is for either of them to be killed that night and then the next night for the other one.
Yeah. And I'm amazed that Ciara didn't clock on to this behavior by Bob and be like, he's being over the top. A true faithful wouldn't say that to me necessarily, Well,
but then, or would you just be like, oh, maybe that's just Bob the drag queen behavior. He just says things, and I think he maybe says these kind of things all the time, but maybe the show hasn't shown as much. I feel because people just kind of okay, that's just what he does. You just let it fly over your head.
And you get used to it, and I think that is how he has managed to go above the radar. Hiding in plain sight with pelican feathers and cockatoo feathers and all this stuff. So not safe. Ciara, Ivor, Carolyn, Nikki, Robin, Sam, Derek. I think you said at the time, all those people are kind of the agreeable.
Yeah,
people, right?
I think I think especially for the men, I find out of all the men, Ivor, Sam, and Derek, they're more agreeable.
Yeah.
They're maybe not as say alpha-ish as the other guys. More oh, let's just get this done and.
For sure.
Less competitive, maybe in that way.
Well, the bros all got their shields looked after. Dylan, Boston Rob, Wes, Derek, they got their stuff sorted. And then only after they were protected, including Bob, drag queen, did they look after the women.
Yeah. So I kind of feel if you are in this mission, it probably would be better if you are just hey, I want to get a shield. You have to actually be quite outspoken, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas I think some people, they tend to be more team players.
Yeah.
And, they may be happy to let other people go ahead at their own sacrifice.
Yeah. I mean, Ivor hasn't... Maybe because there was heat on him early on, he hasn't really gone for shields or gotten in people's way yet.
Or maybe it's just the English gentleman way.
Maybe he's just an English aristocrat gentleman. He's a Mountbatten after all. He doesn't need this. I mean, he grew up on a farm and an estate that's probably bigger than this Scottish one. He's probably what?
Well, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
He's probably what a little shitty shack this is. My estate's 10 times bigger. This doesn't got a vineyard. What a slum. My lord. You know what I mean? He's literally the only one that has a bigger place than this. Yeah. I guarantee it. Okay. He's a Mountbatten.
And I guess we need to talk about the fact that Bob the drag queen suddenly announces that, one of the new guys needs a shield. Because, they're new. There's probably one of them is probably a suspect.
And this is the beginning of the war, right? The Civil War. Because Rob is like, what the heck, man? Well, I just saved you by killing Tony. And now you're saying I'm one of the traitors, me, Derek, and Wes. And I think we got some things to say about this because, first of all, I think the reason why Bob was feeling this type of way is because Bob, Derek, and Wes were the first three to just bolt up the hill with heads and not listen to him. And so that's why he was feeling that kind of way of like, you guys ignored me. You guys went all jock energy on me and just carried this shit up. I wanted to do it this way. I got left out of something. Do you know what I mean? He looked cranky.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a petty thing because, like, why would you say that? You don't actually need to say stuff like that. People will think it already, and to say it so loudly in front of everyone.
Exactly, because if you were a faithful, you would be scared right now by saying that you would be murdered that night.
Yeah.
So obviously he has a shield, but still, you would be more delicate and mindful of your words. So I think he came at Bob, Wes, and Derek because of the challenge. He was a little bit emotional about that.
He's always emotional.
He's always emotional, but he always has a reason. I think this is the reason, maybe.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it wasn't something that I thought of, but then when you raised it up, I thought, okay, that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But had he known what he was getting into, I don't know if he would have gotten into it. Because Mr. Rob, Boston Rob, is one of the great manipulators in reality TV history, okay? And so he starts this argument, and then they get back in the cars, and straight away Rob starts getting to work. And he has no qualms. Like, I thought Rob might have gone up to Bob and said, dude, what the... why did you do that?
That's not how you do it on Survivor.
No. Instead, Rob just gets straight to revenge murder, and he's smart. Like, and this is why I've always loved and admired him as a player, is he knows what he has to do and to get this executed.
He had balls, I have to say. Like, I mean, it's quite one thing to go up against Bob the drag queen. We saw how it turned out with Dylan.
Yeah.
He got demolished at the last episode. Everyone is scared of Bob.
Yeah, but he knows the strategy in that he has to plant the seeds early and often and let people make their own minds from there. It's like Inception. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can tell someone an idea, but if you plant the idea and let it grow themselves, that's better. And so even in the car, he's just like, guys, I've only been here a few days, but I can tell you someone's been controlling this. Think who's been controlling it. Who's been controlling it? Who's been behind the scenes manipulating things, guys? And he just lets it soak and marinate. And we see that in the car from the challenge to the castle. Early setup. So Rob. And so he's starting to plant the seeds and allow people to fill in the ideas themselves, right?
Yeah, so I don't know. I kind of thought that it wasn't going to happen because the way he went about it was like, okay, I think there's a plan to like take out Bob the drag queen. He didn't exactly really give like a solid reason. I mean, I know that there's like this, okay, like, there's someone who's controlling the narrative, but it felt more like he's trying to get numbers first, rather than, because he went to some of the girls, like say, the housewives, like Chriselle, they are, they're big fans of Bob the drag queen. They were like, what? No, I'm really going to have to think about this. I don't know if I can answer that right now.
Yeah. And he went to Dylan first. He was smart. He knew that Dylan was going to be the number one ally. And he like Survivor, he just pulled the Survivor move. He just went from room to room, person
by person.
And this is the trick that he does on Survivor a lot. He'll tell people that it's a done deal. You know what I mean? Even though it's not a done deal.
It's not a done deal. It's never a done deal.
He'll tell people it's a done deal. You got to get on. We might as well get on board so that we look good. And he's done that on Survivor many times, where he makes people think that the deal is closed, and if you're not on board, you're going to miss out.
Yeah, like FOMO.
Yeah, and so he does that with his fellow traitors, and Danielle is like, no, it's Nikki tonight. And he's smart enough to know not to push too hard.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because he pulled Danielle and Carolyn aside and he didn't tell them the reason that it was actually his agenda. He said that, there's talk about Bob the drag queen, coming up for banishment. And then Danielle was straight away like, no, shut it down, and I think he didn't push on with that. He just let her be because he knew there was no point. But then with Caroline, then he was like, we actually have to do this. It's for our game. Yeah.
And Caroline, doesn't want to do this. She really hates betraying people and their trust. But the force of Rob if there's anyone in the room that can match Bob for charisma and force of willpower and personality, it's Boston Rob.
And they're very different.
They're very
so
different.
they are two such extreme, spectrums of like character. It was actually fascinating.
So let's talk about the round table and talk about the stuff before Rob v. Bob. So the two other suspects in the room are Nikki and Ciara. Okay, and so first Wes goes at Nikki again, and it's the old, you were in the coffin, so we have to suspect you. So once again, they're going for the other two people in the coffin. This is just bad logic, in my opinion. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, I don't think that there was much to go off on. I think like Wes, I think he was very clear, but I don't think that there was just enough evidence.
There's not enough evidence, and I'm surprised that Wes didn't build up numbers beforehand.
I think he tried though, maybe.
Or build up more of an argument. You know what I mean? Like it felt like this is thin, and you haven't got much to go off from this. So and going after someone so hard, it can make you look like a traitor too. So I wasn't sure where he was going with this. Derek had a better argument.
Derek had a great one. I think he was like saying, he actually had like kind of like evidence and also like information where he says, suspects, they often use profanity to emphasize and show emotion to prove like they're passionate and that they are innocent. Yeah,
and Ciara says to that, "I don't want to be a fucking traitor." Hilarious meme. That's gonna be a meme. Okay. Like, Derek saying swearing gives up traitors, and her saying, and swearing, literally. Beautiful stuff.
I think it would have worked maybe if that was on Ivor, because I imagine Ivor is quite the gentleman. He doesn't seem like he swears.
Yeah, but
Ciara, so if Ivor starts swearing, yes, I think that can maybe be evidence. But if you're going against Ciara, who apparently swears, morning till night, first thing in the morning, so that might be a little bit of a hardcore.
Yeah, she's a nurse. Apparently, and
I didn't know that. I thought nurses don't swear.
I know, which is hilarious. She goes, "I'm a nurse. I tell people the truth, whether they're going to live or die." It's funny how no matter what people's jobs are, they think they're perfectly suited to being faithful or traitor hunters and recognizing people and being honest. Just interesting. I'm sure we'll go through that one day.
Oh, okay. So you meant like if Ciara was an actual traitor, she'll be like, "Well, I'm a nurse, so I'm around life and death every day. So I would be the perfect candidate to be a traitor because I'm just going to like."
It doesn't matter what people do. Yeah, it's like anyway. And then finally we have Bob v. Rob.
Okay. Yeah.
Are we ready to talk about that?
Yeah,
or is there other stuff
let's
talk
about that. Like how he built up to it.
I was scared for the man. I was like, wow. I was scared for him, but he built up to it, as I said, in that he built up everybody's... First of all, he cut an argument out. He goes, guys, stop arguing. This is all being set up. They're making us fight against each other. That got everyone's attention by catching them mid-argument and mid-thought. And then he was very clever in doing what I had brought up before, in planting the seeds and allowing people to build up the idea themselves. Had he said Bob's name straight up, I think he would have gotten cut off straight away. If he said, "I think the traitor is Bob, and I'll tell you why," Bob would have said, cut him off. He wouldn't have had a chance to finish the sentence. But Rob was really smart in that he just described what this traitor was doing. They're manipulating, they're building up alliances, they're controlling the narrative. They are deflecting. They're doing all this stuff under our noses, and they've done it from day one.
And they've also been like loved and admired.
Yeah,
so he's kind of like building. Yeah,
he's building it up.
He's not saying just the bad points, but he's actually saying really good things as well.
It's like, ooh, who is it?
I know.
Who is it?
I think even Bob the director was like,
yeah, who is he going to talk? And then in one of the great cuts in traitor history, Rob just turns to Bob and says, "Bob,"
and then he's like,
I couldn't believe it. This is the point where I was like, pause it. I need to run around and build some energy. I couldn't handle it.
I had to wait for him to finish running around.
It was just too much anxiety.
Yeah. So this was just great editing. Great editing, great suspense, great drama.
And great debating by Rob too, to catch Bob off guard. Had Bob had any inkling or preparation that this was going to happen, I think Bob would have cut him off and shut him down. But Rob knew to set this up really well. The way to get Bob is twofold. Catch him off guard and make him lose his temper.
Yeah, and he was really shaking. I mean, like, Bob the drag queen, I think when he realized that it was actually him, he was literally, like, shaking, like, his hand was like, oh my God.
I would be shaking too, because it's scary stuff when someone accuses you in the room and it's someone who you think is an ally.
Yeah, and so I think it was really smart when he let Danielle, like, just leave like that, when he had kind of, like, you know, prior to the round table, he didn't chase her and just said, let's keep doing this or keep pushing his agenda.
Because Danielle would have tipped off Bob for sure.
Because if, like, I believe, like, I think Bob the drag queen, he didn't realize, and Danielle didn't tell him because she thought that, no, like, you know, it's a done deal, either Nikki or Sierra. But, you know, like Boston Rob, he was great on that, I think. You know,
what would have happened, right, if he failed at this shot?
So if they're all of them up
at the Traitor Tower, like, this is, like, as Rob said, I need to make this shot land. If I miss, I'm effed. You know, what would have happened and this is why people were so scared of Bob. He's intimidating, his force of personality. What would have the turret been like had they gotten up there and Bob and Rob are there?
Oh, I think he would have just started screaming at Rob.
Yeah, he would have just gone, you are... just the thought of it is enough to make me scared of Bob and make me admire Rob for his bravado and bravery here. Because
he did what many a man could not do.
He did what Dylan could not do. So back to the debate, okay? So, like, yeah, he really picked at Bob's emotion, I think. And in it, he stayed calm and composed. And he knew how to evoke and provoke Bob. Because Bob went all out.
Oh, he went all out. I think he was scary. He was really scary.
Man. He went after Zac Efron.
Which is not very nice.
Not very nice. Poor sweet Zac. Haven't you seen High School Musical, Bob? How could you say that? You know, Baywatch? Neighbours? What's wrong? Like, Zac Efron's fantastic.
Yeah,
how could you say that
and
to
also,
Dylan?
Well, he's also a lot more famous than he is. I know.
And I think the shots that he took, Bob, his hostility, his emotion, the rudeness.
He became very threatening.
This backfired.
And also very aggressive.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like table thumping, you know, like screaming.
This backfired.
Yeah, I think so. I think, like Boston Rob just deliberately knew that, provoked him, knew that, you know, once you get to that stage, people will be like, well, I don't care if he's a traitor or not. I just don't want to be with him.
Exactly.
Around, you know, because it's just not pleasant behavior.
Because we've seen Bob do this at the last table with Dylan, use intimidation tactics to get out of a situation. But Dylan didn't know how to push hard enough and he split his attention between Bob and Robin. Rob knew how to keep on inciting it because I think Bob said... 7 words, I am not a traitor. And Rob
I swear to God.
I swear to God, yeah.
Yeah.
But Rob kept on provoking him to make him madder and madder.
Yeah,
2 words, you aren't. Just kept on, like, needling him until Bob just blew a casket.
Yeah, he blew up,
And then Rob just sat back and said, that's what I wanted. I wanted everyone to see him mad and crazy.
Yeah.
So that even if he is a traitor, even if he is a faithful... He's an unstable one. He's a temperamental one. You don't want to be next to this personality.
Well, no. And also, if I was one of the other contestants, I'll be like, well, like, you know, if I do have suspect, like, Bob the drag queen in the future, how am I actually going to bring this up without being demolished by him?
Now's our chance to get rid of him.
Now is our chance, you know.
And the only man that could take out a drag queen is a Bostonian Robin.
Boston Rob, he also said, well, like, you know, if I'm wrong, you can vote me next.
Yeah. He did a lot of smart tactical moves that made him look like a freaking genius.
Yeah, and I can see why you like him so much because I've never seen him in action before. So, and I had my doubts, but then I'm like, oh, this is what you do. This is why you are the Godfather.
This guy's slick, and this is why I've always thought he's one of the great Survivor players because he has more intentionality than Tony Vlachos, I think. Tony Vlachos, for the Survivor fans, know that he's more chaotic, erratic, wild. Some of the moves he makes are good, some are bad, but they seem random. Boston Rob always has an intentionality and a plan and
he can execute
foresight that he executes. So it's not chaotic. It's more determined with real action and intentionality
Yeah.
and you know, and direction. And that's what I always loved about him. He comes into this round table knowing I need to make Bob go nuts.
Yeah,
and he
also
does it.
You admire that because, like, you know, I mean, you know, if you're in the round table, you're like, well, who are you gonna go for? The crazy guy who appears crazy and demented, or the cool, calm, collected one? You know, like, you would definitely, like, you know, go with that, and because you admire that, because we all know how hard it is to stay cool in the face of a storm.
Oh, yeah, and he did it so well. And I don't think he had the votes going into this round table that he thinks he had. I'm sure that a lot of the people were split on Nikki or Ciara or whatever, but he really forced the table's hand into making a vote against Bob. Because it was like, okay, you need to vote him out, or you have to deal with this dictator for another round table who yells, screams, bangs the table, is making everyone uncomfortable, who just dissed Zac Efron, which we cannot have.
Yeah. Well, do you think there was a way in which, like, Bob could have kind of, like, not kind of salvaged the situation?
For sure, but I don't think that's Bob.
Yeah, that's true.
What he could have done and should have done would have been like, oh, I hear you, Boston Rob. I'm really surprised you went for me because I thought we were working together to find traitors. Okay, I hear your argument, but I really haven't been trying to lead and manipulate things. I've been trying to lead it as a faithful because my mission is to find traitors, and I think we need leadership in that respect. But I respect your point, and Boston Rob, and thank you for your contribution.
Thank you for saying that everyone admires and loves.
Yeah, and thank you. And by the way, I love your backwards hat. Zac Efron is an amazing actor, Dylan, but I have to tell you, I'm a little bit upset at your accusations. I only lead from the front because that is my personality. You know, he could have made this wonderfully composed and rational argument, but that's just not
But that's
him.
just not. And also, if that was him, I think Boston Rob would have come with a different tactic on him.
True. And so then it gets to voting time, right?
Oh, yeah. I think that was hard for quite a lot of people.
Okay, so here are the votes for. I wrote it down. Okay. For Bob was Bob H, Rob, Brittany, Sam, Carolyn, Trishelle, Ciara, Danielle, Dolores, Dylan, and Iva. People that voted for Ciara or Nikki were Tom, Gabby, Derek, Wes, Bob, Robin, and Nikki. So that's interesting because the two people who were most vulnerable to getting voted out, Ciara and Nikki, voted against each other rather than for Bob. Yeah. And the two other allies from the cages of Rob, Wes, and Derek also voted for Nikki and Ciara.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing because I did think that maybe Derek and Wes would have voted for Bob the Drag Queen because Bob the Drag Queen, he did actually put a target on all three of them. Yeah. But because Boston Rob is the only one that's a traitor, so for him, that felt like a direct attack. Whereas I feel like for Derek and Wes, the reason they were kind of like, that's just Bob being Bob. It's because, well, they're faithful. So they're probably like, he's just being him. You know, so there's nothing to get defensive about because they are faithful. Yeah. If they were a traitor, they would have been like, red flag, let's just do something about this.
Yeah, I get you.
I think that's why they didn't vote him.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Interesting. Well, the other thing that I thought was interesting is when Bob votes, he writes down Rob and he says this very important line. He says, "The traitors are afraid of me and they want me out of the game." And I think a lot of the other players, and it says Rob, and I think a lot of the other players missed this and to their detriment because he's basically cluing them in that the other traitor is Rob.
Well, the traitors are afraid of him.
Me. Of him.
Of him, yeah.
And the other traitors are Rob.
Yeah.
And so that's why he's getting voted out. So if you were to look at this out of order, I think people might have put it together that he's basically throwing another traitor down under the bus with him.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anyone caught onto it at that time for what it meant. It's a good slight, like, because I'm sure there are rules at the table. Like, if you go down as a traitor, you can't just say, "By the way, Rob's the other traitor."
Yeah.
Because that would just f up the game.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure there are rules, but the way he did it was subliminal and slick under the covers. I liked it.
And how did you feel about his exit when, like, you know, he had to, like, stand up, so he banged the table. You know, it was a huge bang. I was like, oh my god, like, you know, everyone is like literally shook
Yeah.
up.
And he says, I will tell a truth, but never lie. I'm going to remember this in court. And he says, I swore to God that I was faithful.
And then he was like, guys, God!
God. And I don't believe in
And
God.
I think at
so it
that
doesn't
time,
count.
probably people were like, oh, damn it, we made a mistake.
Yeah. No, look, I was impressed with the way he went out because I was afraid that he was going to go out and cause a big scene, throw chairs, punch Derek, smack Dylan, kick Rob. But he went out with theatricality, but class, and kept it classy and kept it cool.
Yeah.
I thought, which goes to show that a lot of it is just for show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
think
so.
a lot of it's for show.
Like, it's great though because
It's
it doesn't appear scripted or anything. Like,
But
he
it's-
must have, like, I think when the votes came up, probably when Danielle voted him, he must be okay, fine, I'm found out. How can I plan my exit? As dramatically and go out in style.
Sure.
Yeah.
It shows that a lot of it is for show and that he really isn't as unhinged and wild as he puts out. But really, that's a defense tactic that he uses to get out of arguments or to win arguments. He uses this, this tantrum reflex to win arguments.
Like, very British and,
He's got that force of personality that can probably pull it off.
Yeah, and
most of the time.
he looked great. I mean, he's standing there, he's in fuchsia, he's tall, he's intimidating, he's screaming God. Oh my God, he played a great villain.
He played a great villain.
Very great. And I think everyone is just like, oh my God, we fucked up, we chose the wrong person. And then what does he say,
I am a traitor.
Yeah.
What did you think of Bob and Carolyn writing down... Daniel and Carolyn writing down Bob's name. Are they going to be okay?
I don't know, because I know that Danielle was really upset during confessionals when she said, I'm coming after you, the Godfather. That said, she has to write down Bob. Sorry, I sometimes get the name Rob mixed up.
Sure.
But I also know she can cry on cue. And I also feel like it would make for great drama when, it's like, okay, now it's my turn on camera. Like Boston Rob has got the limelight for this one. Let's make this about revenge, and it's revenge is sweet.
Well, yeah, and she didn't see how. I think Boston Rob honestly wanted to work with Bob. You see
definitely.
that by the way he killed
I
Tony.
think that,
I don't think this was something he necessarily wanted to do from the outset. But after what Bob said at the challenge, Rob felt he had to act quick.
Yeah,
and he did.
And it is a red flag. Bob, he does have quite a few flags.
Yeah.
Imagine if he had pointed out I think Danielle could have been, we've got to start looking at her. She would be on the defensive. So I think he just sometimes says things without thinking, and it just comes out.
Sure.
And
no filter.
No filter.
I think Danielle has to play this carefully though, because this is actually a really good lane and a good opportunity to go all the way if she's careful, because now Boston Rob looks like a hero.
Yeah.
He looks like the greatest faithful ever made. You ride him as a shield to the end with Carolyn, and then you kill him at the end, you win the game. You know what I mean? I think if she plays it the right way, there's still 16 people left. Lot of work to go.
Yeah, and I think the best
Don't
players...
fight with Rob yet.
The best players are the ones that can put aside their emotions.
Yes.
And, just see it for what it is. Get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Because if she was to come up against Rob,
she's gonna lose.
You got to be careful.
She's gonna lose.
I mean, she thinks she's the most vicious player, but we know that's not true.
It's not true, because Rob is very good, as we know, at building alliances with everyone. Men, women.
Yeah.
He knows how to be influential and to befriend people in so many powerful ways. So I would not go against Boston Rob. Danielle, please don't do it.
But if you do, it'll be great drama.
Sure.
I hope you do.
But now's not the right time, I think.
Yeah.
She has to ride this alliance a little bit longer and kill him at the end. That's how I would do it.
Yeah.
Carolyn, I think... Okay, who's your pick to win it from here? Let's talk about picks to win it from here. Who's in a good shot?
Like a traitor or a...
Whoever you think. Who can win
I think maybe Derek could be quite good.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, and I think like Carolyn?
I think Carolyn is in a great situation.
Yeah, she is.
Because people are just ignoring her, underestimating her. You know, I don't think they'll realise she's a traitor until she says, I'm a traitor at the very, very last episode. And even then, they won't believe it. They just don't believe she has it in her. Or if that she was a traitor, she would reveal herself. So now all the attention in the house is on everybody else. She can slide through to the very end, I think. The other person I think who could go a long way is Dylan.
Oh yeah, Dylan.
I don't think anyone's going to banish him because of how well he predicted Bob.
Yeah, and also he's like, you know, and Boston Rob will probably protect him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think they're my two picks, Dylan and Carolyn, to go to the very end when Carolyn will kill Dylan.
Yeah.
That's my pick.
Okay, cool. Well, that was a great episode. I mean, like, you know, that was epic. I think some of the contestants are like, well, we've just been in like history. You know, this is just made like, you know, reality TV history.
Let's talk about Wes afterwards, because I think that was funny, because Derek was like afterwards to Wes, that was epic. We were part of television history. We just made a great episode. And Wes didn't seem that happy, I think. Wes was like, yeah, but, you know, I wanted to vote for Nikki. And, you know, I think there's a little competition and competitiveness there against Rob.
Fair enough.
And he then at the bar says, well, how would you really 100% know it was a traitor?
Yeah.
Because Rob did not waver one bit.
Yeah, because I think, like, you know, people are like, oh, we need someone with like real concrete evidence who is confident.
How could you know? And then Ivo goes, you wouldn't know. And Tom goes, well, you would if you were a traitor. And Wes is like, yes, numbnuts. That's right. You would if you were a traitor. Thank you for putting one and one together, Tom.
Well, in that case, okay, since that's out there, do you think Boston Rob is in trouble for the next episode?
He's in trouble. I think he's going to be seen as a hero to many, but if Wes or anybody targets him, they can quickly reveal him. But Boston Rob's not stupid. He's very smart. He got rid of Jeremy, Tony Vlachos, the two other strong personalities that had the potential to get rid of him.
Yeah. So you think he's going next for Wes?
Yes. I think so. I think he knows how to control the room and control votes. He knows it's one thing to be a traitor. It's another thing to be voted out as a traitor.
Yeah.
And I think Rob knows that. He knows that as long as he insulates himself and surrounds himself with the numbers, with Dylan, with, you know, Tom, Sam Asghari, he'll be okay somewhat. And Wes has to know by now, you can't go for Boston Rob out in the open. You have to be really slick. So Wes has to say, approach Danielle, talk to maybe Robin, Ivar, a few people behind the scenes, and put together an alliance to take on Rob. Because, yeah, it's going to be tough to get through.
He's got a lot of goodwill in the house right now.
He's got a lot of goodwill. But at the same time, yeah, he is very vulnerable because, you know, if anyone can put it together that his conviction with that assault on Bob could only have been deducted by another traitor.
Yeah.
But he sold it very well, you know.
He did sold it. He did. I think, to be honest, if Wes can get Dylan on board, because like Bob was always Dylan's primary project from the very beginning. You know, I think if Wes can get Dylan on board. Oh yeah. You know, I feel like that could actually maybe turn the tide against Boston Rob.
Yeah. Because Rob sold it very well. Like he said, look, I've been playing these games for 20 years. I know manipulation and, you know, social strategy and games. And so he set it up very well as to why he suspected Bob. Yeah. And then he just says, I know 100%. I know psychology. It's Bob. And so he sold his resume before he sold Bob down the thing. And even afterwards, Tom was like, if Boston Rob says a name, I'm writing it down straight away. So he has earned the love and admiration of everybody in the house.
And I think also, like, you know, I think for everyone, it's like, you know, like, I mean, you're going, you know, you're putting yourself up against Bob the Drag Queen, the Dragon. Yeah. You know, like, and you didn't miss. I mean, that takes balls, you know? Like... That's
Boston Rob. That's why we love him.
Yeah.
Wow,
okay,
what a big
I think that was a really great episode.
One of the best.
Yeah, one of the best.
Yeah, it was
truly
great. I hope they can follow it up.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so this is a wrap up, and thank you so much for listening to the show. This is the Recreate Reality Podcast by Michael and Teresa. You can find us on Recreate on TikTok and Instagram. That's WRECK.CREATE, where you can watch funny short clips of what we've talked about. If you like what you hear, be sure to like and subscribe to our pod. It really helps us a big deal, and we are extremely grateful for any support you give. And we'll be back shortly with the next episode, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned. See ya. Traitor.